So, the part where the dad sits next to Dorothy on the bench and it breaks. He broke. I don't think that was planned for. That thing broke.
Wait,
Straight broke.
you
You
don't think it
remember?
was planned?
No. Cue the music. We don't have any music yet.
We will.
Do we have copyrights for what we're humming?
Yeah.
We don't know. All right, everyone. Welcome to our very first episode of Have You Seen? So Why Not Collect? Woo! So Why Not Collective collaboration with our friend Kijan over here. How you doing, Kijan?
Good. How about you?
Good. How's the quarantine life?
Oh, I get to watch lots of movies, so I'm happy. I get to cook and watch movies. It's great.
Excellent. So in this show, we're going to be, Have You Seen is, we're going to watch a bunch of movies because we love movies, right, Kijan?
Definitely.
So what we're going to do is we're going to watch movies. Could be from nowadays. It could be from back in the days. We're going to start with back in the days, and we're also going to we're going to review the movie, talk about things we liked, and especially try to break it down to give you guys more of a different level of understanding of why these movies are considered good, bad, or classics. So, Kijan, can you tell us what our first movie is?
We watched Tootsie, which is considered one of the greatest comedies ever made. I think it's considered the second best comedy right behind Some Like It Hot, which is still one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
What?
Just keeps people coming back and keeps them laughing, and it's really entertaining. But this movie is definitely a close second to that.
Watching the movie, I think you can still definitely watch it in this time era or this time period and still feel like it's relevant. But there are a lot of things where like, hey man, that's pretty rude. Or Dustin Hoffman is such a jerk in this movie. Like he's supposed to be like this macho guy, which he does is very bravado, especially his friendship or relationship with the best friend, whose name is Sandy.
I hadn't watched this movie in a very, very long time. I think I had seen it once.
Do you mind explaining the plot real quick?
Tootsie is about an actor, Michael Dorsey, played by Dustin Hoffman. He can't get his big break. He's an experienced actor. He teaches. And somehow he just can't get a big role, one that he thinks he deserves. So he comes up with this idea to audition for a female part for a very popular soap opera dressed as a woman and actually going in and identifying as a woman.
But the female part, he was there for the audition because best friend was audition, and she's a girl, Sandy.
Yeah, she found out about it. He found out about it through her. And so he decides he's going to go. And he also sees how huge of an opportunity this could be if he can pull it off. His best friend Sandy is played by Terry Garr. He falls in love with his co-star, Julie, who's played by Jessica Lange. Hijinks ensue. Bill Murray plays his friend, which definitely adds to like the comedic part of it. He's so great.
I had that same Zombieland reaction when I saw Bill Murray in this movie. Bill Murray.
Like when everything falls apart, it's towards the end, and he's like, "That's a nutty hospital." Like there's something about his deadpan reaction to everything that's he does it so well. Like he's just so good at that.
That is one nutty hospital.
But you mentioned like how does it hold up, or does it hold up nowadays? I think it still does, and I think it also ages well. Not only does it hold up like it's still a good movie, but I think it ages well. It doesn't have, I don't think it has an offensive theme. I don't think very offensive things happen. I mean, like, offensive being, would they be different back then from now? And a lot of movies don't age well because you see them and you're like, oh, it's racist. Oh my God, that's homophobic. Or oh my God, that's sexist. You know, one thing that I think I really appreciated about this movie is that it is not a comedic version of drag. He's not, you know, like a lot of comedies don't age well because they're kind of making fun of trans characters or of drag characters. And I think this movie did it very well because he's not, like, he actually mentioned that he doesn't consider this a comedy. He considers it a drama.
Yeah.
Like, to him, the storyline wasn't like that funny.
Well, his motivation, like, he had several motivations in the film, right? His character, Michael Dorsey, where his motivation was he wanted to prove that he can act, like he was a great actor. He's just a difficult guy to work with. It could be one of those types of, like, if you want, like Steve Jobs type of people who are good at what they do, but they can be hard to work with. It's funny that you mentioned things like there's dialogue that I think is pretty funny, but at the same time it's like, whoa, I don't think you can get away with saying that. Like, even with his best friend Sandy, that seemed like a very abusive relationship. I'll tell you why. Because there's this line in the very beginning where he walks her home and she's like stressing out over the audition, and he's like, tell me what's wrong with you or I'll kill you. Like, what?
Oh yeah.
Like, what?
I thought that relationship was kind of sad because it's like she's not only playing the part of the girl who likes him and he doesn't like her back.
Yeah.
She's playing the part of like the friend that wants him to be a friend and will not be a friend back. Like, it's so sad because it's not even like, I don't even think she wants that romantic specifically. I think she, like, in the beginning, I don't think she wanted specifically. I think she just wanted friendship.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't even give her that. Yeah, so you're definitely right. Like, I think it is an abusive relationship. And he, you know, he keeps taking advantage of her over and over and over, from tagging along to just to be in the, you know, just to take a look at this job opportunity, to the way he treats her after. You know, you brought up like him proving that he's like a good actor. Yeah, that's kind of the funny thing about this movie is that Dustin Hoffman is playing a really good actor. And so I think he did, it's like, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
He not only, I mean, he's a good actor. He is playing a great actor, and the way that he portrays Dorothy, the way he acts as Dorothy, shows that he's a good actor. Like, that his character is a good actor. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, you're
like, he's not.
At times you're able to separate that they're two different people almost, because he does such a good job of portraying Dorothy.
You know, there's that scene where he goes to Jessica Lange's house, to Julie's house, and he's watching her she's just like running around her mom's house, I think, like the farmhouse.
Yeah.
And he's just like looking, and like the way he is standing, the way he turns to look at her, I was just like, yeah. I forgot this was a man playing this. And it's like, because he is not doing a comedic, like, oh, high-pitched voice, let me prance around. Like, he's not doing a comedic version of a woman. He's doing a very natural version.
That's a good call. There's this, remember when he goes to the restaurant to talk to his agent the first time that his agent sees him as a woman? There's such a little subtle part where there's a producer who comes up and greets him. The way that he puts his hand out, he doesn't like grab the hand as you would, I guess, in the 70s or whatever, but he puts his hand out like this, like so slight and subtle, like very dainty, that I was like, man, he really took notes, or he was really observant of how to act when he was dressed up as Dorothy, or when he was Dorothy.
And he's not overtly feminine. He's in very overtly feminine outfits, but he's not the way he carries himself.
The first time he
like that.
You remember the first time it was probably the only time that him and Sandy hook up, is when he tries on her dress and he's naked, and they're just like, okay, let's do it. like,
Yeah. She's like, is this what you're into? Okay.
okay, let's not go to dinner. Let's just go. Let's do it. And then that's how their benefits start, right?
Yeah.
And there was that part where, so one of the things I thought about was like the pacing of the movie. So when we're talking about motivation, remember, so after, in the beginning, after he yells at his agent, and then he goes, I'm going to prove you. And all of a sudden, he's dressed up as Dorothy. So I think one of the things I had issues with the movie was there was never an in between where him like looking at a dress or like, should I do this? Should I do, what are the consequences of doing this? He never thought about it. He just went, it just cut straight to him walking down the street as Dorothy.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? The 80s were like the prime time for the montage sequence. So you would think that they would take advantage of this and be like, let's do a montage of him getting ready as a woman. So you're right. It's like, that's really funny that all of a sudden he just shows up and he's dressed up. And it's like, man, it seems like every 80s movie had a montage sequence.
Sidney Pollack, right, the director, he was probably like, you know what, let's not do a montage.
Yeah, he's like, I'm tired of this.
There wasn't one, right? There was, well, actually there was. After he talks to his agent and he agrees, he goes buys a couple of dresses, right? And that's like a little montage. But there was never that montage of him training up to be Dorothy, or I'm gonna prove to everyone else that I could be Dorothy. Unless the Netflix version I was watching like cut that scene out.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, because he's like Dustin Hoffman has admitted that he was like that. That women hated working with him because he was sexist, because he was like
before this movie.
And before this movie, I think it was before this, he worked on Kramer versus Kramer with Streep. And Mary said that personally she didn't like, I think she said she didn't like because he was like jerk. And she actually, I think, ended up mentoring him for this movie, like tutoring him for the part. It was supposedly after this movie, he was like he completely changed. I think he said he had an experience where I think he said it like really hit him really hard going through this, and just women have to go through.
He had an epiphany.
And being, and like how, like, I think he really saw discrimination against women, and he was just like, oh my God, I've been perpetuating this abuse my entire life and not really realizing it. And so I think he had this epiphany. But after this, a lot of his female coworkers, like in other movies, said that they can say nothing but like wonderful things about him.
Oh, that's nice.
I think it like really changed him. But he admitted that before this movie that he wasn't like a very nice guy, especially with his female coworkers. So it's interesting that you see that in the movie. There's too. It's kind of like it's almost like an autobiography of him, you know.
You know how Tom Cruise runs a lot in his movies? Yeah. So in this movie, Dustin Hoffman almost gets hit by a car again. I think that's his thing, just running across cars in New York, and he almost gets hit. Speaking of the 80s, and there's a song in the film that I just was like, no way, this song is from this movie.
Are you talking about like the Romantic?
Yes.
When he's with Jessica Lange. I like burst out laughing. I was like, this is the most 80s scene I have ever seen in my life. Like, just Romantic. Like, I know what you're talking. I forgot what
that's a jam. Like, something's telling me it might be you.
Oh yeah, that one.
Well, was it okay? Camera's focused on him and Jessica Lange. Or what's Julie? Julie.
I think that song is playing with a montage of him like watching her.
All of my life. Correct. And and her dad watching him. Recognize the face.
Yes.
The part where the dad sits next to Dorothy on the bench and it breaks. He broke. I don't think that was planned for. That thing broke.
Wait.
It broke.
What, you don't think it
Remember?
was planned?
No, I don't think that was planned. I think if you watch it again, like Dustin Hoffman, like kind of like turns to the side as I would do myself,
Not
like
to laugh.
yeah, and they didn't cut. And I think whoever was playing the dad was waiting for a cut, so he like paused a little bit and then he continued his line. That's
Keep
how I remember it.
going.
But oh
Oh
my
my
god,
gosh, that's
he
so
broke the
funny.
bench.
Thank you. Well, I wonder if we're going to get any stars out.
Everyone just fell for Dorothy, man.
I know, it's really funny. This screenplay
Mm.
is taught a lot in film
Yeah.
schools, a lot. And I was trying to figure out why. I was like, why? It's not like, it's a great movie, but it's not like, you know, one of the like absolute classics or whatever.
Yeah.
And it is because I read a breakdown online of why it's taught, and it answers every single question we are asked of our scripts in film school.
What are some of the
Like,
questions?
what is the goal of the character? What does the character do to obtain that goal? What are the obstacles? What does the character do to get over those obstacles? This script, every single thing that these characters do serves the purpose of what they want. And it serves the purpose of the story. No matter, you watch these movies and they can be fantastic, but there's a lot of plot holes in them.
Yeah.
Where you're like, why didn't they bring this up again? You know what I mean? Like, they do something and you're like, well, what was the purpose of that?
Mhm.
Tootsie does not have anything like that. It has zero, like, all the questions are answered. And
Yeah.
everything they do serves a purpose to the story. And so I think that's why it's taught.
Well, it hits those points. Plus, like you're saying, there's no plot holes where everything gets some sort of closure in the end.
Yeah, and it also, when you answer those questions, you
Mhm.
know, a lot of people would say, well, won't that make a boring story? Like, doesn't that make cliche movies or cliche stories? It doesn't, because what it's doing is that it's forcing you to move the story forward. And that's how you get the attention of an audience. And that's how you're good at storytelling. Like, your storytelling has to be moving forward, or else you're going to lose the audience. And so I think this movie did such a great job at pushing that story forward, and it didn't stop. So yeah, I think it's really well written. But what's really interesting is that normally a screenplay is written by one or two people. This one was written, I think the rumor has it that it's like over 20 people wrote this movie.
What?
Like, they kept having screenwriters come in and like pitch, you know, like do their own thing. So they'd like change one thing here and change another thing there. And that's never happened.
Well, here's a question. How many of those were women? Just to get that.
Oh, you know what? I don't know. That's a good question. The guy who I think originally wrote it was really upset because I think Dustin Hoffman tried to take credit for it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, say that he wrote most of the movie. So there was like a big controversy with that. But from what I read, it had a lot. I don't know the names of the people who wrote it, or the screenwriters, but yeah, a lot of people worked on it and a lot of people tweak things.
Oh, here's a question. Who is Julie's baby daddy? That threw me off too, that she had a child. I don't even remember.
Do they introduce? I don't think they introduce it. Didn't he say when Dustin Hoffman was talking with her dad, didn't he say that the guy left?
Probably.
Like, knocked her up, and I think he mentioned that during, like, he was like, oh, I don't trust the women that she, or the men that she sees because of this, you know, because this thing happened. I think I said something like that, but I'm not really sure.
Was there ever a point in the movie where you were like, he should have got caught at this point?
Like, Michael Dorsey is such a great actor.
Yeah.
But no one caught him.
I guess they didn't do background checks or ask for social security back then.
Yeah, I guess that's another reason why that story wouldn't be believable today, is because now we would
want to know everything.
You know, there's a rumor that Steven Spielberg took a tour of Warner Brothers Studios
Mhm.
got off the tour, found an empty office, and put his name on the desk and said, "I work here now." So I
Oh,
don't think like back then. I mean, you could get away with anything back then.
oh my god.
So I think like I believe that they didn't do a background check because I'm like, yeah, probably would happen.
All right. So in the movie too, there were a lot of cameos, right? Like Bill Murray. Well, Bill Murray wasn't a cameo, but if when you
Yeah,
think
he
about it
wasn't
now,
in too long.
he was an
Yeah.
actually he's an actual character in the, and then you had Andy Warhol. Check me out. I don't know, like when did Andy Warhol pass away? I have no idea. Like in the 80s?
No, but did you see the Super Bowl commercial with Andy Warhol? He's like
The
eating a
cheeseburger?
burger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
familiar with it. And it was
Of
like
him
5
eating
minutes
Burger
long.
King. Yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah, I think I watched the whole thing.
Yeah. When that came out too, we were like really. I remember when we were watching it, we were like, "Wait, what?" Like we asked the same question you did. We were like, "When did he die?" Because I think we know him as this like 60s, 70s icon that we don't really think of him going past that. Yeah, there's a lot of people where you're like, "Oh my god."
You know what my favorite cameo was? Oh, I won't say cameo, but my favorite Easter egg was the lady from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego was in the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah, they're like,
I don't know her
"Okay."
name, but she is in the film. She's the stage manager and Gina Davis too. To me, Gina
Yeah.
Davis was bae, especially in like A League of Their Own.
Well, I really think of you all as my daughters, and what kind of mother would I be if I didn't give my girls tips? It's tips.
To tie things up, like, what did you think of the ending?
I think again, it's true to their characters. It was a very minor lie. It was manipulative. It was manipulative. No, but I mean, what I mean by that is that it's like his career goes or whatever. It was a lot more manipulative with her, you know.
Yeah. Even with Sandy too.
I'll give you an example. I just watched The Town
Oh,
for the first
with
time.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I had never seen.
Oh,
that.
okay.
What he did to that woman is just completely. I mean,
I haven't seen it.
There is. Oh, you haven't seen it?
No, no.
I didn't ruin anything. They
Okay.
You see this at the beginning, but he robs a bank, and he starts dating the woman of the bank he robbed, like the bank man. And so that's what I mean by I could see myself as a woman being able to eventually forgive what Michael Dorsey did. Do you know what I mean? Like he didn't. It's not that. Like,
well, okay, hold on. He slept in the same bed. You left him with your child. I think even there's another level to this, especially as a mom. You left your
that's true
like, for her to realize that she left her child with a man who she thought was a woman.
Yeah, that's true. Right? Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is that I don't think it's completely crazy
to forgive.
Because she, whether you like it or not, she was clearly falling in love with this person.
Yeah.
Like she was falling, whether it's a woman or a man, she was falling in love. It's like she had a friendship with this person. And so I think that is what eventually, I think that is what led to her decision.
You know, it's funny. There was
she's like, she doesn't hate him. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, well, shit, I still really care about this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, as I was saying in the Town, it's like that was unrealistic to me. But he abused you. This is the most traumatic situation you've ever been in your life. It's a hostage situation. What? That's like an unforbidden. It was really good. I wanted to watch it because it was on. I had never seen it, and it was on HBO, and it was about to like be. It says it's one of the movies leaving this month or something.
It was almost like a Stockholm syndrome kind of deal.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's weird. I mean, I'm like, that's unbelievable. Like I was like, that's a traumatic event in your life, and this person is lying to you.
There's this funny part that was, I think, super hypocritical, and it really points out to people not knowing what they want. Well, in this case, we'll talk about Julie and being a woman and not knowing what she wants. Remember when she breaks down to Dorothy, like, oh, I wish a guy would just come up to me and say, like, I want to make love to you. And he does the exact same thing at the party. And guess what happens? Gets some champagne in his face. Now that I think about it, that could be a possible plot point that they never really addressed that afterwards. But again, they didn't really have time.
I think maybe that again, it's like, if I pitch this, would this be done today? They say that they know what's on, and then they do the complete opposite. Like that portrayal of like, look how they are with the way they feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's all the thing that might be able to go through today.
There's a really good conversation to have too about what you said. Like this would stand the test of time if whoever played Dorothy today would have that same type of approach, like where you're taking this as serious. You're not taking it as a flamboyant type of thing, over exaggerating and living up to those hyperbolic stereotypes, right? He played it like he's a strong woman, not this woman who has to overdo everything, like, oh my lord, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not the overt voice and the like size and the change, that huge change in his voice.
Yeah.
Again, I forget, there was parts in the movie where I forgot it was him. I was like, oh right, that's a man. It's because I think he did a very smart thing by looking at this role as a drama. I think it was very smart. With Dustin Hoffman, like him saying this is not funny, like him telling himself this is not funny. I'm a desperate actor. I can't, which I'm sure he can like relate to, not getting jobs. Not only that, but I have now been in love with this woman and I don't know what to do. Like I can't tell her. I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? And so I think it was a really smart decision to not think of it as a comedy.
I'm surprised that no one recognized him at the end of the film, right? You would think he's standing outside that same building that he used to work in.
Yeah. It's like, you still don't know.
Remember there was that scene where the director was making out with Gina Davis in the back, and it was like, you guys are making out right in the open. You're not even making it subtle. Awesome. So I would recommend the movie. You would recommend the movie.
Yeah, I definitely would. I think it's a classic comedy for a reason. And I think I get now why they teach it in screenwriting classes, and I think it's very, very well written.
And now my favorite part of our show is, did they mention San Diego? Yeah. Drum roll. We still haven't had a sound engineer. Yeah. Did they mention San Diego? Yes or no, Kijan?
I think he mentions it, right? Like, I'm moving, or
it's
I want to move down there, or I used to live there. He said something like that.
I was trying to look for the timestamp, but when Sandy gets rejected right away for this audition, by the way, when you guys watch it.
That's right. She wants to move there.
She didn't even get to recite any lines because she didn't have the right look. That's what they do if you try to audition for a character at Disneyland. If you're not the right hat, you're out. So Sandy, because she's upset and distraught, walks to the elevator with Mike, and she mentions that she's just going to move back to
Tupper or something. I don't know. So I'm going home.
Okay, I'll walk you.
To San Diego?
Yes.
Best city in the world.
Get another half point for that. We definitely want to talk more movies. I mean, we can go on and on. Like, I challenge everyone who's listening to like have that conversation about, especially if you're working in film, like have that conversation about women, men playing women or dressing up as women in film, and like what it actually doing. Is it good? Is it bad? Like, what are your thoughts?
The problem with the film industry is that it's all money driven. Mm-hmm. It's not like art is not the focus. And so you get white actors playing Asian parts. when they shouldn't be, because there are thousands of other Asian actors. And, their excuse is always, we couldn't find any. And then if you say, no, you could find some, they say, well, this one is a moneymaker. Like, we got Brad Pitt because he's a big name. And so it's really frustrating. Personally, don't have a problem with straight people playing gay characters. Mm-hmm. That I don't have a problem with, because I think that it is, we might not all have the same experience, but I think that is the point of acting, is that you're a different person. I do have a little bit of a problem with
when
people
it's ethnicity.
When it's ethnicity, and a little bit also when it's trans. I think now you have enough trans actors that could play those parts. And so I don't think you need to go get straight actors to play these parts. But this is a rare instance where one, he is not mocking drag or trans characters. It is not related to sexuality. I think it's very true to the story, and I don't think it's like, I don't think it was an offensive like storyline, because his motive was not that. Because it's like, oh my gosh, drag is so funny. And it's like, oh my God, like, please don't do
that. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Was that?
Oh, I know.
Not even, we'll save that for another time. But if anything, watch the movie for Something's Telling Me It Might Be You. Tell you, that's the karaoke jam right there. Hope you guys like this little talk we had about Tootsie. If you guys have any movies that you would like to recommend for us to watch, to review, I mean, between me and Kajan, we have a lot of movies we can definitely talk about. Yeah, let us know in the comments below. Smash that like button. But thanks again, Kajan. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.